The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions, and we're going to talk about it. But before we get started, I want to tell you guys to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, share, and continue to support my channel. The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. I don't want to say they shocked the world, but they defeated the Kansas City Chiefs. They took down the top dog, the team that many, including myself, by the way, thought that they were going to go on a three-peat. But the Philadelphia Eagles said, no, 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 not today, not tonight, no, 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 no. They said no chance, no three-peat, none of that. And the Philadelphia Eagles put together arguably maybe the most dominant Super Bowl showing in years. And look, I know the final score ended up being 40-22, but anyone who saw that game, the score wasn't even that close. It was not the score was not a microcosm of how that game really went. The Philadelphia Eagles just whooped up on the Kansas City Chiefs. Were just getting after Philadelphia. After Kansas City. And Patrick Mahomes he had no room to breathe. He had no room to breathe. He was just running for his life on every possession. And so it was just a dominant display of football. You know, the Philadelphia Eagles defense, I thought, got after Patrick Mahomes and that Kansas City Chiefs offense. And the Philadelphia Eagles offense, I got to give Jalen Hurts credit. The Kansas City Chiefs clearly and understandably went into that game not allowing Saquon Barkley to run wild, and Kansas City's defense pretty much cut Saquon's water off, but it didn't matter because Jalen Hurts stepped up and made all the key throws and made all the key plays and made right. And so, Jalen Hurts, I thought, had a fantastic game, and really a fantastic two games. He was great in the NFC Championship game, and he was great in this game. And so, can't give credit to Philadelphia for getting the job done and having a fantastic year. And I'm happy for a guy like Saquon Barkley because he's been fantastic all season and was a deservedly top 3 MVP candidate, between Saquon and Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. And ultimately, Josh Allen ended up getting the MVP. But, you can make a real argument that Saquon Barkley should have won an MVP. And as a matter of fact, I said on this episode about, 2 months ago, somewhere around there, maybe two and a half months ago, that I thought Saquon was deserving of being the MVP. And, look, he had a real case with how he played this season and just the way that he could just hit home runs like a running back, just the way he can utilize his speed and break tackles and run for 70 yards every game and make plays as a running back. He was a joy to watch this past season, with Saquon Barkley. No question about it. And so, congrats on the Philadelphia Eagles. They had a great year, great season. Earlier in the season, things were looking a little rocky. People were questioning Nick Sirianni and his coaching decisions. And, we were questioning Jalen Hurts and, how he was playing earlier in the year and turning the football over. And, the defense wasn't quite as good, but from like mid-October on, the Philadelphia Eagles got their stuff together and they dominated each game, each season, and they just put their foot down and just said, hey, man, we're going to do this thing. We're going to get this thing right, and we're going to rock and roll, and we're going to ride Saquon Barkley, and Jalen Hurts is going to make enough plays, and that elite defense was going to do its thing. And boy, did they do their thing throughout that stretch all the way up to them winning the Super Bowl. And so congrats to the Philadelphia Eagles. And for Kansas City, like I said, I mean, just a downer of a game. They got their butts handed to them. And, we can talk about, what it means for Patrick Mahomes and his legacy. And I'm sure the national folks are going to talk about that. And, look, man, I love Patrick Mahomes, but, if anyone wants to say that this performance from the Super Bowl means that he's not the GOAT anymore and that the GOAT is still Tom Brady, I get it. I understand it, and I won't blame you because that's how bad Patrick Mahomes was, but, it was a downer of a game for Kansas City. But, look, man, these are the Kansas City Chiefs. They got their butts kicked, but it don't mean the Kansas City Chiefs are going to go away because we all know when push comes to shove, the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be right back in the thick of things. They're going to be really good. They possibly might even get to the Super Bowl again. And because you just know that with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, they're gonna be consistent and they're gonna win games, and they're gonna upgrade the offensive line, which is something they're gonna have to do in the offseason. Obviously, they're gonna have to upgrade the offensive line, and I think they will. And they probably need to add a couple of more pieces to the defense, and maybe they could use another receiver. And so, Kansas City, they're gonna do what they need to do to, fix their roster a little bit. But hey, this is all about the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles deserve that Super Bowl. They were the better team. And speaking of the Philadelphia Eagles, man, I wanna issue a take that I have about the Philadelphia Eagles. And that take that I have about the Philadelphia Eagles is the Philadelphia Eagles are a model of consistency in all of professional sports. They are. The Philadelphia Eagles are a model of consistency in all of professional sports. And the reason I say that is every single year, especially when it comes to football, if there's one thing that I guarantee when it comes to football that since 2000 is that the Philadelphia Eagles are always going to be good. They might not win the whole thing. And chances are when it comes to football, it's a rarity that teams win Super Bowls back to back. But that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to be good. And that they're going to be in the mix. And that they're going to always be a threat year after year after year. Well, they have a down year once every 5 years or so. Sure. Every team goes through down years. But when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles, here's a stat for you that I'm going to give to you guys. Since 2000, the Philadelphia Eagles have played in the NFL 25 years. 25 years since 2000. 25 years. Out of those 25 years, the Philadelphia Eagles have made the playoffs or have had a winning record 18 out of those 25 years. Which means the Philadelphia Eagles, out of those 25 years, have made the playoffs 18 out of the 25, and they've only missed the playoffs 7 times in 25 years. That is incredible. That is what you call a model of consistency. And why are the Philadelphia Eagles so consistently good every year? Well, here's why. They have great ownership with Howie Roseman. They have Jeffrey Lurie. They have a great general manager. They hired a right coach, and they draft well. And this is what the Philadelphia Eagles have done since 2000. They've had quarterbacks from Donovan McNabb. And granted, they went to the NFC Championship game over that period 5 straight years. And even though they didn't win the Super Bowl, they got to the Super Bowl with one of those years. So you had Donovan McNabb. And then you had Jeff Garcia. And then you had Donovan McNabb. And then you have Mike Vick. And they were good with Mike Vick for one of those years. And then you get Nick Foles. And then you get Carson Wentz. And then Nick Foles. And now we got Jalen Hurts. And no matter who's the quarterback in Philadelphia, they just keep winning and winning and winning and winning and winning. It's what Philadelphia does. They just win, 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 win every regular season. And if you look at their drafts, they just make the right decisions. They draft well. Look at their drafts since 2021. And you have a guy like Devontae Smith on the offensive side of the ball. And you have a Jalen Carter, who's become maybe even the best defensive tackle in all of football. And you have Nolan Smith, who can rush the passer. And you have Quentin Mitchell, the cornerback that they drafted last season. And yeah, they drafted the other cornerback. I can't remember his name. They drafted him in the second round, and he was good. So they drafted him. And you have Nakobe Dean. And they signed a guy like Zach Bond in free agency, their linebacker. And they have a guy like Martez Sweat, another pass rusher who's been there for a while. And so they just have guys on that side of the ball defensively that just get after you. And they made it, and let's give credit where credit is due. I want to say, was it 2021, 2020? I forgot what year it was, but they drafted Jalen Hurts. And at that time, they were criticized for it. At the time, because people were like, oh, Jalen Hurts, they overdrafted him. He doesn't have a strong arm. He's not accurate. He's not this or that. He's Jalen Hurts. Well, why did they draft him? People were criticizing the Philadelphia Eagles for that. And all Jalen Hurts has done is just get better each and every year. And look, here's one thing I will say about Jalen Hurts. He might not have the generational arm talent or the generational, accuracy or whatever. When you look at when you compare him to guys like Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow, he might not have those measurables in whatever arm talent and running ability that all of those four guys that I just mentioned have. Like, he might not have all of that, but the guy is a freaking gamer. Every big game, this guy just shows up. And when you need him to make a play, you need him in a big moment, the guy just he just gets the job done. And he makes the big throw when you need him to make the big throw. And he makes the big run when you need him to make the big run. And he just does whatever is necessary, whether it's on first down or it's third down or in the red zone. He gets it done. Jalen Hurts gets it done, and he's known for this, dating back to his days when he was in Alabama, when he was giving my Georgia Bulldogs hell, and when he was at Oklahoma and he was doing work for their college program. Jalen Hurts just gets it done by any means necessary. And look, I don't know where people, will rank him when it comes to top quarterbacks in the league. Look, obviously, the top four quarterbacks in the league we all know where they are. Is Patrick Mahomes, is Josh Allen, is Lamar Jackson, is Joe Burrow. Like, I'm sure that's going to be everyone's top four. And the fifth quarterback, you could probably, I'm sure some people might have Jaden Daniels just based off what he did in his rookie year. Or some people might have, I don't know, Justin Herbert, or they'll have CJ Stroud or Jared Goff or Matt Stafford or whoever. But Jalen Hurts, he's right there in that second tier conversation. And when it comes to, quarterbacks between 5 to 10, like, he's in that group. Now, he might not be the most physically gifted or talented of some of those guys that I mentioned after the top four quarterbacks in that group. But if you just look at just intangibles and just mental makeup and just the ability to just make plays in big games and big moments, Jalen Hurts has proven that he can do it at the highest of levels, and he's done it on the biggest stage in the biggest games, and he has a Super Bowl, and you got to give him credit for that. And he's the top of the top in the city of Philadelphia. And, when it comes to Philadelphia sports, there's no fan base in the world that's more passionate about their sports teams than Philadelphia. I can assure you that. There's no city fans that are more passionate about their football, that are more passionate about their sports teams, especially football, than Philadelphia. I mean, they get riled up for them Eagles, man. I tell you. And so, yeah, man, big ups to the city of Philadelphia. Y'all, and that's the one thing I appreciate when it comes to Philadelphia fans. They stick through their teams good and bad. And they've had some heartbreaks. As good as the Eagles have been, there was a period in time where they've broken their hearts, in the playoffs, and so for them to stick through their football team when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles through all these years, like I said before, they've been in the playoffs 18 times in 25 years. And so that means that 16 out of those 18 times that they've been in the playoffs, they've had heartbreak. They've lost early. In some instances, they lost in the NFC Championship game. One other time, they actually lost in the Super Bowl to these Kansas City Chiefs back 2 years ago. And so the Philadelphia Eagles, 2 years later, after losing to the Kansas City Chiefs, they got their get back. And boy, did they get their get back in a major way. Just whooping up on Kansas City. And so that feeling had to be glorious for the Philadelphia Eagles and their fan base. And hey, if I was a Philadelphia Eagles fan, I'd be going crazy myself. And so, like I said, man, big ups to the Philadelphia Eagles. You just, like I said, all the credit should go to Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie. Their owner and general manager. They make good decisions. They draft well. They make smart free agent signings. They make smart trades. A.J. Brown. I don't know if I mentioned him. I think they traded him from Tennessee. He's one of the top 7-8 wide receivers in the league. So you got him and Saquon Barkley. Like I said, if you're the New York Giants, how in the world do you let this man go to your rival? How do you let this man from New York, how do you allow him to go to Philadelphia? Look, man, there's a lot of craziness in sports that I just don't quite understand. And the New York Giants letting Saquon Barkley go to Philadelphia is right up there because they gift wrapped them the Super Bowl. The New York Giants gift wrapped the Philadelphia Eagles a Super Bowl because they allowed Saquon Barkley to go to Philadelphia. And Saquon Barkley, he's been the best running back in the league. And so, hey, look, like I said, shout out to Saquon Barkley for the season that he had. And so, like I said, when you look at decisions like that, from Saquon Barkley to drafting Jalen Hurts to the Philadelphia Eagles drafting well, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and their solid offensive line, they just a complete masterclass of roster building in Philadelphia. And it's just the work that they've done in Philadelphia over the last, 4 or 5 years, this is what it's resulted into, a Super Bowl. This is Philadelphia's third Super Bowl appearance in 8 years. And this is their second Super Bowl in 8 years. And this is their second Super Bowl, Super Bowl appearance in 3 years. And so, like I said, man, the Philadelphia Eagles, they're just a complete model of consistency that I believe all of the sports teams in all the sports, not just NFL, but NBA, MLB, NFL, every professional sports franchise should aspire to be like the Philadelphia Eagles. You know, when it comes to like comparisons, when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles, they remind me so much. And I don't know, I'm local here, but the Philadelphia Eagles, when it comes to sports franchises, they remind me so much of the Atlanta Braves. They're just so comparable to each other. Consistent. They win nearly every year. You know, they might not win the Super Bowl or the World Series, but they're always in the midst. They're always in the conversation. And look, they'll break your heart. And look, I'm sure over the next year or two, you know, the Philadelphia Eagles, they're going to break their Philadelphia fans' hearts again. You know, it's going to happen like that. But they're always in the midst. When I'm talking about the Philadelphia Eagles and the Atlanta Braves, they're always in the midst. And it's because of good ownership, good general managers, good decision making, you know, and just a commitment to excellence. And that's what teams like the Philadelphia Eagles and the Atlanta Braves have. Just a commitment to excellence. And just knowing what it takes to win. And doing whatever it means necessary to win. That's what franchises like the Philadelphia Eagles and the Atlanta Braves do. They know what it takes to win. They know how much you got to spend. They know that, you know, they make decisions, tough decisions sometimes, and at the end of the day, their process always works out. Always. And that's what teams like the Philadelphia Eagles and the Atlanta Braves do. They know what works. They know what ticks, and they know what decisions that needs to be made, and they get it done. And so, you know, again, man, shout out to the Philadelphia Eagles. Much love to that franchise. Much love to that city. Much love to that fan base, that rabid, crazy fan base in Philadelphia. Hey, this is what it's about, you know, winning championships and your fans feeling energized and sticking with your franchise through thick and thin. And that's what the Philadelphia Eagle fan base has done when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles. They stick through them to that team, good and bad, heartbreak or no heartbreak. That's what the Philadelphia Eagles fan base has done when it comes to the supporting the Philadelphia Eagles. And so, you know, like I said, man, the Philadelphia Eagles had an awesome season. Big ups to Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, Jalen Carter, Nakobe Dean, Nolan Smith, Quentin Mitchell, all of those guys. You know, they deserve this Super Bowl. They earned it. And, hey, man, much love and respect.